Welcome back, students, to JBizTown. I know you have just started your work and career readiness unit, and you're learning about the importance of considering your interests and your skills when choosing a job and starting to figure out your career path. So we have a special guest that's going to talk to you some more about that. Would you mind introducing yourself and telling us a little bit more about your job, what you do, who you work for?
Great, thank you for having me.
Of course.
Hi students, so my name is Denise Palella and I am a program manager for a local hospital. My role entails really working with multiple teams and trying to achieve like goals for all the teams, and the overall goal of that is to improve the health and wellness of our families and our community.
Awesome. Seems like a very important job.
It's fun.
Okay, Denise, would you mind sharing with the students a little bit about maybe some interests that you have that really made you want the job that you have now? Like kind of what sparked your interest in that?
Definitely. So growing up, I was always someone who really liked to put puzzles together, whether it was jigsaw puzzles or doing crosswords or word searches or whatever. I really always enjoyed doing that as a kid. And so when I grew up and I got my real life job, right, I really wanted to find a job that I could put those puzzle pieces together. I really like working with people. I really like putting together thoughts and processes and pulling together resources to really help kind of fill a hole for a hole in the community that's needed to make our community better.
Awesome.
So I merged, my interest in puzzles and tried to find how I could best do that.
Awesome. So after you consider what you're interested in when you're looking for a job, it's also important to think about what you're good at, what skills do you have, so that you can fulfill those job responsibilities. So could you tell us some skills that you need to be a project manager and maybe how you developed those skills?
Definitely. So communication is one of the biggest skills that you have to have in order to understand what someone is trying to ask for, and being able to then project out and disseminate out more information to get other people on board, or to align, all the goals. You have to be able to communicate, and that is a twofold. You have to be able to listen, and you have to be able to speak. So really being able to learn how to communicate with people. One of the biggest things I learned growing up straight out of high school was I had a really hard time having eye contact with people. And that's a big communication skill that I just didn't do very well at. So that was something that I had to learn that myself, I didn't do very well at that, but how can I better do that? So that was one skill that I can say I really had to learn how to hone. And everything else after that, you just I learned how to better listen and communicate, because I didn't have that nervousness of having to look at someone in the eye. And so, building on that communication, I would say, is one of the biggest skills you have to learn. And I think as high school students, as middle school students, as any student, you have to learn how to communicate with your teacher. You have to learn how to listen to what they're really asking for, and you have to learn how to communicate what you're learning and what your questions are. And I think that is something that you take with you throughout your entire career. It's just really learning how to communicate with different people, different cultures, different levels of managers, or if you're managing people, being able to communicate with people that you're managing. So the skills that you learn in grade school, through middle school, through high school, you learn communication, and that is something you will always have to continually work on.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like communication is one of those skills that is kind of a requirement for all jobs, and definitely something students can start working on now as you prepare for your future. So we've talked about in your current job some things that interest you, some skills that you have to have. Could you just tell the students a little bit more about why is it so important to consider both? Why you don't just want to look at your interests when applying for a job, you don't just want to look at your skills when applying for a job, but it's really that fine balance of looking at both.
So I think the baseline thing you have to think about is you're spending your day doing something. And so you really want to make sure that whatever you're doing during your day makes you feel good about what you're doing and that you are finding something that brings you joy in some way. If you're in a job that you really don't like, but you do well at it, but it's not really something that you want to do, you're really not going to perform as well, and you're not going to want to grow and be a more stellar employee. So personally, in high school, I was part of JA, and I was a VP of Finance in my JA business program. I can't remember, that was so long ago. So I really learned a lot about what it was like to manage the finances for our team and our business. And while I really liked having that, it was a really great experience. As I grew up and I started working in jobs in finance, it wasn't something that I really found my joy in. And so what I really found my joy in was being able to work with people and be more interactive. And I feel like doing finance is great for some people, but I really like to be interactive. And so through my jobs, I've had finance jobs, and then I realized that wasn't really where I wanted to go. And then I started to realize that program management really tied in being able to be more communicative with people and being able to talk more with and get up and get around and do other things. So I find my joy in my job. I love it, and my overall goal of what we're doing is something that I value, and so it's really important to not only find your interest and your skills, but make sure that what you value as a person is something that you can find in your job.
Absolutely, that's such great advice, students. I really hope you take that to heart as you're applying for your JA Biztown jobs, but also as you choose a job for your future. Thank you so much for volunteering with us and sharing with the students.
Thanks for having me. Good luck, everyone.